Hey, good morning, friends. Thanks for stopping by the Car Connection Workshop. We got a lot on the go today, but first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to all of you who have taken the time to subscribe, but 93% of you haven't. We need to fix that because it's not good. So if you're enjoying the videos, which I know you are, I look at the analytics, we need to take that 93% and shove our subscribers way up there because we got to get to 1,000. We're almost halfway there, so help us get there, and that helps us to get monetized so that we can buy the parts, provide the labor, and get the vehicle out the door and share the video with you guys. So that's the whole idea of our channel. So if you want to learn how to keep an older vehicle like this one going long, giving the engine longevity and the transmission longevity, you are on the right channel. So stay with me. We got a lot to get through. We're going to take the whole side of this vehicle apart, and I've already had one bite, so I've got to work on the rest. So you might say, well, what are you putting time, effort, and energy into a van like this? Well, this is a prime example of parts that you don't buy. This is what you get when you buy cheap offshore body metal. And I won't say what country it's from. You can figure it out. If you're putting body metal on a vehicle, like I could buy this fender for about $100, and it will do the same thing in about 2-3 years. It'll look exactly the same. They rot out because they're not CAPA certified. If you're buying sheet metal, if I'm changing a fender, if I'm changing this fender, I want a CAPA certified product. That means it's certified for fit, finish, and longevity. So CAPA certified will get you almost back to the original sheet metal that it was born with. Anything that's not CAPA certified is just garbage, and that's what this is. It's garbage. So we're going to go to the U-Pull-It yard, and I'll grab 2 fenders because the other fender's been replaced too, and it's starting to go down here. But the rest of the van is in good shape. Mechanically, it's coming back now. So today, we're going to change out the lower control arm. So I'm going to show you, I've already done the other side, which beat me up pretty good, let me tell you. If you were paying by the hour, you would be in the hole for coffee for my rest of my life on that. And snacks. Can't forget that. So I'm going to show you how to change the control arm, and we have another one right here. So I recommend you do it as a kit and do both sides because they're both the same age. So whatever you do, here's the general rule of thumb to work, and it's a good rule of thumb. Whatever you do to the left side, do to the right side. Whatever you do to the right side, do to the left side. So in the kit, which was really good actually, very good, we got sway bar link, that's this long one. We got a tie rod end with a cotter pin. And I got to tell you, this company is really good. I'll put the name of the company in the description. And I'm really impressed because I bought the same kit for the 2008 Nissan Rogue. And you can watch that one as well. We did the same procedure on that. I'm going to save that bag. That's a great bag to have. So this is the control arm. It goes in just like I'm holding it. This is the front. This is the back. This is the ball joint. And it's marked R for right side. So you can press these bushings out. Did you see what happened there? That's okay. This could be a doot-to-doo. Do you know what a doot-to-doo is? You ready? Doot-to-doo! There you go. That's a doot-to-doo. Yeah, so that goes on there, and it's a castellated nut. I don't think it should be either. It's not supposed to be. That's supposed to be put a cotter pin through there, but this one is not. So this one doesn't take a cotter pin. It's a castellated nut. That is very interesting. The other side had a nut that takes cotter pins. So this gets torqued. But you can press these out and press them back in. But here's what happens. And same with this. So this little segment is for the armchair warriors. Yes, you can push this out and push it back in. But if you bend this frame or damage it in any way, shape, or form, or it's just too rotten, First of all, here's the thing. You're paying me by the hour. I still will have to take this arm completely out to push this out, and push new bushings in. So do you want to pay me to mess with something that's old and rusted and is 16 years old? Or would you rather me just whomp the thing out of there and put in a whole unit that's already together? That's how a ball joint should be. Shifting gears is tight. Okay, so that's that. So for all you armchair warriors, yeah, I could press that out and press that in. I don't know why you'd go ahead and change the whole arm. We bought the whole kit, both sides, all in for $250. Why would I want to waste a customer's time paying me $130 an hour to press this out, press that out, press this out into an old, crusty, rusty control arm when you bought the whole kit? So for $125 a side, armchair warriors, you go ahead and do what you're going to do. I'm putting new stuff in, all of it. So we're doing both sides. We're going to do both sides to keep both sides exactly the same. Now I wanted to show you the aggravating bolt. On the driver's side, this is the bolt that's going to give you the biggest headache of your life. This is the rear bolt. Okay? This is the rear bolt that goes in right here. So this sits into the car just like that. That's the front. The bolt goes through there, and it has a nut built into the frame. On the back, it does not. This goes in from the bottom, and this is the head of the bolt right here. Now on the driver's side, after a lot of sweat, blood, and brute ignorance, I got the bolt to turn from the bottom, but I still could not get this to come out. And all you're going to be able to access is that much of this bolt. It sticks out of the frame, but it's pretty much encapsulated. You can just barely get a wrench on it, but you're not going to be able to pound it from the top to push it out. I managed to get a bar in to the point where if you really look at this bolt, you can see it's shiny. I had a 6-foot bar on it, and I got a few pushes from the top, but I could not get that bolt to go through. You can see it's chubby. It was stuck in this bushing, right in there like that. And I did manage to get it down somewhat, but it still would not come out. It would spin and spin and spin to the point where you got to make a decision. You're not going to cut this out inside the van. You're going to set the bushing on fire, and it just turns into a big nightmare. So what I do is I come in from the side. This is the bottom. I come in from the side with a I found these blades. Are expensive, but I'll tell you, they cut through steel like butter. The firefighters use them for cutting cars open. They're short. And I'll tell you, this thing, they're like $30 for 4, $35 for 4. And so what I do is, so this is in the car, this is facing the back, is I come in from underneath like that, and the bolt is in there like that, and I come through and I stay right on the frame. Stay flat on the frame, come in, and it'll slice it off, and then the head of the bolt will drop. Then you can go from the bottom, and it was so easy. Once I cut that off, I put a punch in here, and I just basically pushed it out. But I said that was 5 hours later. Yeah, 5 hours. I fought with that for 5 hours because I really didn't want to cut the bolt, because then going to find the bolts is even trickier yet. So anyways, I discovered that the rear bolt is the same temper steel and the same length as the 97 Jeep TJ Wrangler. So that's how it was. I ordered a kit that was supposed to be for Dodge Caravan '08 to '11 was wrong. The bolts were same design but too short, way too short, so not usable. So that's what I used, and you can order those kits very easily online. 1997 to 2006 lower and upper control arm bolt kit is like $24.99. The kit I ordered that was supposed to fit this was like $55. So huge difference, but we managed to conquer it and got a bolt in there, and everything has to be torqued to specs. So here's my cheat sheet. This is how I do it. I take all my specs that I'm going to need, so I know all the foot-pounds for every nut and its location is on my homework sheet. So it's there before I even start the job. So as I'm putting it back together, I don't have to run and get a torque spec or look it up. I got everything. Wheel nuts, axle nut, lower control arm, 1 and 2. Link nuts, right here. These have to be torqued. And what else we got? A tie rod end in there. Tie rod end, 55 foot-pounds. The lower ball joint, 20 foot-pounds. That nut right there, 20 foot-pounds. So, and caliper bolts here and down there, because we're going to take this all off and do a full brake service. Once I put it back together, I'll bolt it all on in one piece, then I'll take the caliper off, pull the pads out, clean, lube, and redo the bushings and everything on the caliper. So you've finished the whole job by doing a caliper service, so doing a brake service while you're in there. So this is how I do it. I just put it on the fender with a magnet, and I've got everything I need. I don't have to hunt for anything. And my tools, they're all set out in my baskets. I won't need to go to my toolbox for anything. Everything is there I needed for the other side. Bring it to this side and get back into it. So we'll call this segment number 1, the introduction to replacing the lower control arm. So when we come back, we'll have the air hose going, the compressor running, and we're going to get right into it and start tearing this down and show you step by step how you can do this. And I don't have it on the hoist because you probably don't have a hoist at home. You're probably going to do this job on the floor just like I am. So I have a safety here. That jack, floor jack, has a bar that goes through it. This is how I work. It has a bar that goes through it right here. So the jack is there, but it's resting on its bar. It works as a floor jack, a floor stand, and then I have a secondary back here, right on the frame. So that's how you should work, fellas. Do not be just working with the floor jack and the whole weight of the vehicle is on the rolling floor jack. No. That's the reason why I bought that floor jack. Was it's a low rider. It's not heavy. I can grab it and swing it around, but I can also use it as a jack stand and put the bar through. It comes with it and has 2 stages. So it has a lower spot where you can put the bar in, and then a higher position. And that's the last position. That thing has been great because it works as a safety. So always have 2 safeties when you're working on the floor. Just last week I went down the road here, guy's doing some brake work, and he's got the whole weight of the vehicle on the floor jack, and he's sitting with his legs underneath the vehicle. Don't do that, guys. You got to have 2 safeties. My third safety, and I'll teach you that trick. My third safety is you put the tires underneath so that if it dropped, it's going to catch here and underneath. It's going to lay on the tire. It will not drop all the way to the floor. So put your tires under and you bring it forward in behind your next stand. That's your third. So you're now working safe. You got 1, 2, and the tires. Always put the tires underneath because that's your third man safety. Safety is number one. I'm huge on that because the moment you forget is when something can happen. So if you're a do-it-yourselfer, take the time to make sure when you jack it up, you grab the vehicle and see if you can move it. And this baby is parked. It's parked. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to jump right into, we're going to take the whole caliper and saddle assembly off. We're going to take the center nut off the axle shaft because we've got to drive it that way. And then we're going to take the nut off the lower ball joint and separate the entire strut tower and bearing assembly, hub assembly away from the ball joint and separate the tie rod end as well so that we've got movement. We can move it this way and that way and this way as well because the steering linkage will be separated. So we're going to do that in the next step. So don't go away. Come back with more action here in the Car Connection Workshop right after this on the 2010 Dodge Grand Caravan. Please pray for me. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for stopping by. Bye for now. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. If you liked the video, like I know you did, ring the bell. Just get it done. Get notified when the next video comes out. See you in the next one. Gotta go.